Let's have a look at the first two of these in a bit more detail. I'll quickly run through some of the audio APIs that N-Audio has wrappers for, and we'll also look at the various audio file formats that N-Audio has got some read and write support for. So first of all, let's look at what I've called legacy Windows Audio API wrappers. These are Windows Audio APIs that have been around for quite a while and were the first ones that I created wrappers for when N-Audio was created. For example, there's a whole family of functions that begin with wave out, such as wave out open, wave out play, wave out close, and wave in. And these are for playing back audio and recording audio. N-Audio provides the wave out and the wave in classes to make the use of these APIs simple. Then there's a whole family of functions that begin with mixer. These functions allow you to do things like setting the volume of your sound card, as well as, if you're recording, selecting which of your sound card's inputs you're recording from, and even adjusting the microphone gain level. One word of caution about these APIs though is that they're very dependent on how your audio sound card drivers have been written, and it can be very frustrating to try and write code that works across all versions of Windows and across all sound cards using this API. So I tend to recommend that people avoid using these mixer classes unless they absolutely have to. There's also a series of Windows APIs that begin with ACM, and ACM stands for Audio Compression Manager. It basically gives you access to the audio codecs that you've got installed on Windows. N-Audio provides the ACM Stream class that gives you fairly low-level access to these ACM functions, as well as Wave Format Conversion Stream, which is a slightly higher level wrapper for use in signal chains. Then there's the MIDI in and MIDI out family of functions. If you're a musician and you use MIDI keyboards, then you'll know what these are about. N-Audio doesn't have wrappers for all of these functions, but it does have enough wrappers that allow you to record MIDI events as they come in, as well as send MIDI events out. And another API that I'll mention that's been around for a while is Direct Sound. N-Audio allows you to use Direct Sound to playback audio with the Direct Sound Out class. The reason I've called all of these APIs legacy is because over the years Microsoft have introduced new APIs that supersede almost all of these, with the exception of MIDI. There's no new MIDI API in Windows. So over the years I've slowly updated N-Audio to include wrappers for the newer audio APIs that Microsoft have introduced since N-Audio was originally created. For example, there's a whole new audio API that was introduced with Windows Vista. I call this WASAPI. It stands for Windows Audio Session API. N-Audio includes WASAPI Out that lets you play back audio using WASAPI, and it includes two classes that let you capture or record audio in different ways using WASAPI. Although WASAPI is the new audio API that supersedes Wave In and Wave Out, it's much closer to the metal and therefore can actually be harder to work with. So sometimes you may still want to use Wave In and Wave Out. Another audio subsystem in Windows that N-Audio provides wrappers for are what's called DirectX media objects. And this is another way that audio codecs can be presented. The main motivation in N-Audio for wrapping these was to get access to the DMO resampler, because WASAPI doesn't automatically resample audio for you. If you're trying to play an 8 kHz file and your sound card is operating at 44.1 kHz, you can't play it with WASAPI without resampling first. So by providing wrappers for DirectX media objects, it allows us to use the resampler before we send the audio out to WASAPI. The newest set of wrappers that have been added to N-Audio, and these were added in version 1.7, is wrappers for the Media Foundation API. The Media Foundation API essentially is the newer version of ACM, but it includes not only audio codecs, but video codecs. They've been combined into one API that encompasses both. N-Audio provides the Media Foundation Reader, which can read any type of file that Media Foundation is able to understand. And it also includes the Media Foundation encoder that allows you to make use of any Media Foundation audio codec that's installed on your machine. N-Audio also has a wrapper for an audio API that's not part of Windows at all, and this is the Steinberg ASIO API, which stands for Audio Stream Input-Output. To use ASIO, you need a sound card that's got ASIO drivers. And if you've done any home studio recording, you'll probably be familiar with ASIO drivers, as most professional audio sound cards come with an ASIO driver. N-Audio has the ASIO Out class, which not only lets you play back audio using ASIO, but lets you record as well. ASIO's big advantage is that it tends to allow much lower latency audio playback and recording than is possible with other APIs. Finally, N-Audio also provides an additional DLL, which includes wrappers for the Windows Media Format SDK. In particular, this lets you read WMA files and write WMA files. However, this may actually become a less important part of N-Audio in the future because Media Foundation is able to read and write WMA files as well. What about audio file formats? What types of audio file can you read and write in N-Audio? Well, one of the most popular types of file for storing audio, particularly uncompressed PCM audio, is the WAV file. And N-Audio provides WAV file reader and WAV file writer to let you read and create WAV files. MP3 files are also one of the most popular types of audio file. N-Audio includes the MP3 file reader, which allows you to read MP3 files and does the work of converting them into PCM for you. And we'll be discussing later in this course ways that you might go about making an MP3 file using N-Audio. AIFF files are slightly less common on Windows operating systems, but you might encounter them, and N-Audio's got a reader and a writer for AIFF files. In many senses, they're the Mac OS equivalent of WAV files. And as I mentioned, N-Audio has a separate assembly that allows you to read and write WMA files. In addition, N-Audio's got the ability to read MIDI files. It can tell you all of the MIDI events that are contained within a MIDI file, and you can also create a collection of MIDI events and save them as a MIDI file. It's even got support for a file format called SF2, which is a sound font used by some software samplers. And that's not the entire list. N-Audio can actually help you to work with other file formats, particularly thanks to the Media Foundation reader. For example, in Windows 7, Media Foundation can read AAC files. So if you use the Media Foundation reader, you can read AAC files. And because Media Foundation supports not just audio but video codecs, you can even use Media Foundation reader to read out the audio from a video file, such as an MP4 file.